With the release of Raya and the Last Dragon, we now have 11 films inside of the Disney Revival era. So today, I thought it was time for me to stop and rank all 11 films of the Disney Revival era, ranked from the worst to the best. Hey everyone, SDub Nation here, and welcome back to a brand new ranking here on the channel. I'd like to stop and take the time to rank all 11 Disney Revival era films ranked from the worst to the best. Please know that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. My list is certainly not the right list, it is just my list. And you are free to comment down below your ranking of all 11 films inside of the Disney Revival era ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could just do your favorite. Yes, I know, you can search up anywhere that there are actually 12 of them, counting in Bolt. But I've seen a lot of people not count Bolt, and they count Princess and the Frog as the first one because it seems more classic. So that's what I'm going to go with. Bolt, I'm just going to say that is post-Renaissance, and the Revival era started with Princess and the Frog from 2009 to Raya and the Last Dragon 2021. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and without further ado, let's just get right into our ranking. Kicking off my list at number 11 has gotta go to WreckIt Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now, this film isn't terrible, it's actually quite enjoyable, and some of the stuff dealing with the internet was actually pretty nice. The stuff with Ralph and his insecurities, it felt a little bit too similar to the first film, but they were fine to show. They also show a lot more character development for both of the characters, Vanellope and Ralph, and they also double down on the relationship between these two characters. But other than that, this film comes off as repetitive from the first film. I like a bunch of things inside of it, but for me, it's not a good thing when the best part of your film is showing the Disney princesses all together. I would love to see the gigantic crossover between these Disney princesses again. I would love to see a film focusing on them, but that's all this film has going for it. And Gal Gadot. Kicking off my top 10 list has got to go to Winnie the Pooh. Now, prior to this ranking, I have never seen this film. Like, I had no recollection of this film until I had to search up the Revival era. And at first, I really wasn't feeling it. I was bored sometimes, and I just did not understand what they were going for until I actually paid attention. This film is actually just 3 stories all in one, but they all collide at the end of the story. Now, I am familiar with Winnie the Pooh. I am familiar with the characters. I think Tigger was always my favorite character, but I was never big into Winnie the Pooh because I never grew up on that. But I gotta say, this film was adorable and sweet, and actually makes you have a good feeling by the end. Though it is pretty forgettable, though not a lot of people are aware of it, to its core, it's just a film that's trying to make you smile and have a lot of nostalgia. And I gotta say, I smiled a lot more than I had expected. Coming in at number 9 for me has gotta go to Princess and the Frog. This film is actually very nostalgic for me because ever since I was 4, I loved this film. I used to watch this film all the time, guys. Like, I loved Princess and the Frog. I think this was like the only Disney movie that I would actually rewatch on the regular. That and also Lion King. It's refreshing to see a classic Disney 2D animated princess film, especially with a black woman as the princess. That makes a big difference because me, as an African American myself, seeing the first Disney film with a black princess hit me hard as a kid, and this was something that really has not been done before. I can relate to a lot of things inside of this film, like the language and also the circumstances, except for the frog part. All of the songs are pretty great and kind of memorable to me, and some of the characters are also enjoyable. But as I grow older, it has gone down a little bit for me, but I still very much like it. Coming in at number 8 for me has got to go to Big Hero 6. Now, to a lot of people, minus Winnie the Pooh, a lot of people forget that Big Hero 6 is actually a Disney film, and that's because it feels like the least Disney of all of these films. I totally forgot about this movie. Now, I remember all the teasers and trailers that came out in 2014 when this film was getting released. I remember all of that. I remember the Baymax scenes. I remember a lot of things about Big Hero 6. But after not seeing this film for the first time since 2017, because I saw it the first time in 2017, I had a pretty great time with it. It's so entertaining and charming. Baymax, we can all agree, is the cutest character inside of this film, and probably in all of the films. But it's actually a movie that's tackling themes of friendship and family, and I really like that. The action inside of this film is very awesome and shot in a way that's so dynamic. I also love the brothers inside of this film, even though I wish that the story was a little bit more centralized around the brothers. I still think that showing their relationship at the beginning of the film was actually a nice touch, and I like everything going on with Hiro and Baymax. I also love the aesthetic of the film. It feels very futuristic, but also feels like San Francisco and Tokyo mixed together. And we also have the villain who's very sinister, very evil, and very fearful, but you do understand why he's doing what he's doing by the end of the film. But I do believe that this works better as a Marvel comic book film than an actual Disney film. Then again, that's also a good thing that I'm comparing this to a Marvel film, because that shows how entertaining it actually was. Coming in at number 7 for me has got to go to Raya and the Last Dragon, the newest Disney revival era film, and I was very much anticipating this film. I loved the trailers. I thought that the concept was so interesting. I wanted to see an Avatar/Ninja style Disney movie, and that's basically what I got for the most part. You guys can check out that review up above. All of the characters inside of this film have great backstories, and the fantasy of it all is just so fun. The action and animation here is just so fluid. I love the fight scene inside of it. The choreography of it all is just so beautiful to me, and also the animation itself. But I found the pacing to be kind of off here. But I do like the stuff going on with the world building. I liked Awkwafina inside of the role, and I liked the villains and also the different tribes inside of this world. I think the voice acting was pretty well done, but also the humor wasn't as great as it could have been. But it's still a great addition to Disney's catalog. And also, I just love the representation inside of this film. It's great that Disney is doing more representation, especially with their Marvel stuff, especially with their Star Wars stuff, and now with Disney animation. I think that Disney is going to be very diverse inside of the future. Coming in at number 6 for me has got to go to WreckIt Ralph, a great story about a video game character wanting to be loved and seen as the good guy for a change. I love the themes going inside of it. I love the world building of it all, because the concept is actually pretty interesting. Video games, they live together inside of this arcade. Some of the video game villains have their own little support group where they could just sit there and talk about their feelings. So I really do like that aspect, and that they all live together inside of a community. So you have Mario, you have Sonic, you have Pac-Man showing up, you have Bowser, you have all of these different video game characters that pops up, and it creates for a nice little crossover in the mix. The way they handled the twist inside of this film, when I first saw the film, and even now, I thought they executed it brilliantly. This film incorporates nostalgia with the video game characters, but also clever writing to create one of the most enjoyable and character-defining Disney films. I also love the themes of just finding your place and accepting yourself, and I think this is one of the things that the second movie tried to do, but this one did it better. Kicking off my top 5 list has got to go to Frozen 2. Now, truth be told, this is actually the last film that I saw in theaters, and I really enjoyed it. I was going to make a review for it, but then I was like, at that time, my channel wasn't even that big. It's still not that big now, but it was way bigger than it was back in November of 2019. There are things that they did inside of this film that are worse, but also better than the first one. They expanded more on the characters as well as the world and the mythology, and I really like that. Elsa has a lot more development, and her songs are much better here. Even though I liked exploring the origins of Arendelle, the relationship between the sisters was better in the beginning than throughout the entire film. Also, the relationship between every character inside of this film was way better in the first than actually in this one. But still, if I had to choose between which one I want to watch, I'm probably going to watch this one more than the first. Coming in at number 4 for me has got to go to the first Frozen. The film that took the world by storm is still an amazing one. The story revolves heavily around the relationship between these two sisters, which is what makes me come back to this film. I mean, just like the thought of like these princesses, these two sisters, one of them doesn't get in a relationship at the end. One sister does get in a relationship, but to me, I find that to be a little negative. I kind of get a little bit nitpicky with that one, because I believe that just the love between these sisters, like they did inside of the film, the love between these two sisters is what saved the day. And I think that basically the love between these two sisters should be the central story point instead of one of the sisters wanting to fall in love. The songs are memorable, the characters are likable, and the themes are emotional. This film is overhyped, and yes, Let It Go was played every day inside of every store, inside of every school event, everywhere I went, Let It Go from Frozen was playing. But since it dominated the box office, I believe some of that hype is earned. And let's not forget Hans as the villain reveal. That's one of the best twists inside of any animated film. Fight me on that. Kicking off my top 3 list has got to go to Tangled. Thanks to a gigantic budget of $260 million, it is fascinating to me on how good this film actually looks. After my initial rewatch of these films, I keep going back to it because it looks so good. But the film is actually pretty good. I mean, since I grew up with this film, it's been a while since I, sat down and actually watched the movie. I mean, I remember when this film came out. It came out in 2010, and I think I didn't see it until months after it came out in theaters, and I basically kind of grew up on it. I remember watching it from on demand, and I fell in love with it, and it kind of influenced my childhood a little bit. The film is gorgeous to look at, has likable leads, and an engaging story of a classic Disney adventure. Some of the facial movement that these characters make, I kind of made the facial movements when I was a kid when this movie came out, so yeah, embarrassingly, this and Princess and the Frog are some of the things that kind of defined my childhood. My runner-up at number 2 has got to go to Moana. Next to Tangled, this film has the best animation out of all of the Disney Revival era films, like, in my opinion. The Polynesian mythology worked so well here because it is explored with a central character that you just fall in love with her determination, but also her likability. This film has some of the best songs out of the Revival era, and also the best music. And in the end, you don't have an emotional romance between the lead male character and the lead female character because, 1, that would be gross, and 2, because this is a character that can do a lot of things on her own, and they don't force it down your throat like other films do. It feels like she doesn't really need a romantic subplot, and I think that that's what works about this film. This film has a great story. I love the twist in the end, and this is just an adventure that I love revisiting. But coming in at my number 1 has gotta go to Zootopia. Man, when I first saw Zootopia, I just thought, this is a buddy cop Disney movie. And I love it. I loved everything about it. Like I said, it's a buddy cop Disney movie. Some of that could be a good thing, some of that could be a bad thing, but I feel like it worked very well here because the chemistry between this fox and this bunny character just works on screen. Like, you have a lot of fun with it. I also love the world of Zootopia. This is actually, if I had to choose a place to live inside of the Disney Revival era, this would actually be number 1 because it's just something fantastical about living in a city where if you go to any area, it's either raining or snowing or it's hot, like the desert. Like, they have different ecosystems that are connected to these certain type of animals. I think the whole entire world building of this film just works because it gets you invested with this world, and you see straight off the bat what this world is and how the animals interact with it. But the thing that I really love about this film that pushed it up to number 1 for me was the prejudice themes. I love the racial themes inside of this film. They package it in a way that's understandable to kids, but also adults can clearly see what they are referencing, and it's great that they're referencing something like that inside of children's films, so then they can also get the idea that this stuff does happen, even in the brightest places, even in the places that you can be anything like Zootopia, just like the place that you can be anything inside of America, there are still going to be racial prejudices, and I think packaging that up inside of a film where animals live together, but also there are predators and prey that are prejudiced towards each other, I think that's what makes it work. And as this is the film that I watched the most, I believe I watched this film the most, it just never gets old. Alright guys, that was it for my ranking. Please know that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion. My list was certainly not the right list, it was just my list, and you're free to comment down below your ranking of all 11 Disney Revival era films ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could just do your favorite. Like, comment, and subscribe guys. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter that's going to pop up on your screen right now. Please don't forget to check out Raya and the Last Dragon review. That link is always in the description. And I will see you all next time. Peace.